Hello, this is the presentation for our Year 2 group game, Gallus. Gallus is a top-down hack-and-slash type fighting game where the player controls Artus, a Roman gladiator who's fighting his way through the Roman Colosseum to prove himself and win his freedom. For the project we decided not to use any external models and instead opted for a style which could accommodate for the lack of asset store level models. Using a pixelation post-processing effect, we reduced the resolution of the final game to achieve a RetroS downgrade effect and used the comic outline shader to give more contrast between different objects. Most of the models use simple geometry and have colors assigned to the topology rather than creating texture maps. This time saver allowed us to more quickly iterate on the models during production. In terms of level design, we made two distinct areas. A courtyard in which the player begins and has time to familiarize themselves with the mechanics of the game, and a Colosseum arena where the player will be challenged by multiple waves of enemies they have to defeat within a time limit to win.
The player gladiator is a subclass of the third-person character. They are able to move with the WASD keys or controller analog stick at two different speeds depending on whether the sprint button is being held. By pressing the roll button, the player will leap forward at an accelerated speed with invincibility. Stamina is depleted in order to sprint and roll. If the stamina gauge is fully depleted, the player must wait until it completely recharges to be able to roll or run again. With correctly timed inputs, the player is able to perform a 3-hit combo. The player has 10 health. Upon receiving a hit, they will lose health. If they collect chicken or a leg of ham, their health will be partially restored. When the player enters the Colosseum, it will initiate a series of enemy waves. Each wave features a progressively larger number of enemies. Completing waves and collecting hourglasses will increase the amount of time the player has available to them in the Colosseum. If the player dies or runs out of time whilst in the Colosseum, it is game over. To achieve victory, the player must fight through the courtyard, enter the Colosseum, and fight all enemy waves without running out of time. The final attack of the 3-hit combo is a kick, which does extra damage. Enemies will initially patrol an area. When they have line of sight, they will begin to chase the player, and when they are within melee range, they will begin to attack them.
For the UI elements, we opted for a heart bar for our health and a stamina wheel for the stamina. Each point of life is worth half a heart, and when health is restored, the amount of health restored will be represented on the heart bar. When the stamina is exhausted, the wheel will turn red when the stamina is recharging, and will change back to green when the player is able to run or roll. For the options screen, you are able to choose whether you want full screen mode or windowed mode. You could also change the aspect ratio of the window using the drop-down menu. And you could also change the volume for the music and sound effects respectively using the sliders. Or mute using the checkbox.